I think I heard myself on that recording saying that I backed off the lead pickup, the most excellent, or whatever they say. No, I meant a quarter turn of the screw, both of them, that suspend. So it was too close, and it was like blurring, so I couldn't get my chirps. I backed it off a quarter of a turn, which is only just like that, and then I went to chirp with it, and boom, they came out. So that solves that. As far as the other one, the one that's parallel, at first I backed it off a bit, trying to get to the like an eighth of an inch away from the strings, but it wasn't quite responsive, so I tweaked that one, and this time it was a quarter turn closer to the strings. So in other words, that's all it needed, just that little bit. It turns out to be only a 30-second. These pickups are like incredible. The differences that you get as far as response, but just minute little tweaks here and there. And also the amp, the amp has to articulate well, not blur. So if you saturate too much gain, you won't get that clarity. And a speedster like myself, we need clarity. We need to be able to deliver those notes, and they should stand out. It could be a flurry of notes, it doesn't matter, but you should basically hear, if I'm doing chromatics or ditonics or pentatonics or anything like that, it has to stand out. You have to be able to hear it and say, hey, it makes sense. So even though I do all these, chromatics and stuff, and I'll go from one pattern. Basically, since I did a mathematical research and I showed you the charts, so I can probably dig it out now. I have it right here. All these positions are along the path that I am moving, either down or up. So it becomes so familiar. Let me just bring them out here. This started the fall. This is how I met my wife. I was working on this, and she saw how focused I was and liked that about me. And she liked my body for some reason. But these are the formations here, and there's many of them. You can see some of them here. They're weird. See? Here's some more. Now, the way I proved these was through the flute. Remember, at age 7, I picked up a recorder I bought it for 10 cents. Nowadays, they're $9 each. There's some more that, you see what I'm saying. Along the path, this way, or this way. Sometimes you see me going backwards. What the heck? Well, I'm a crab. First of all, we walk sideways. Well, cancer. I was born July 13th, 1950. So you can see all these formations. I'm very familiar with them after playing so many years. So I see one coming up, and then my finger goes that way, or I move the whole hand because I'm going to move into that pattern. Look at some of these patterns. What the heck, And I don't know where you're going to find that in school, but in school they teach you theory, classical theory, unless you go to Berkeley School of Jazz, and then you start getting into some chromatics and stuff, unusual stuff not taught in the classical sense. And some of these are modes. These tied together. Some of these are modes, and some of them, some chromatics in there. If you see them grouped together like fret to fret, and that's usually chromatic stuff that's happening there. Then you get into basic blues scale. You're probably more familiar with that, right? And basic country scale, which is an inversion. And on harmonicas, you could prove that. A C harp will play country in C, but you go up a fifth, C, D, E, F, G. And most of my songs, if I'm going to sing, I like G. And if I'm playing blues, I'll go to G. Or A. A is a step higher. But some guys like Chuck Berry and B.B. King, they do sing in B. So I have a B harp too. Well, B harp, not necessarily. D, E, F, G, A. That would be an A. I had to figure out the theory. At any rate, it's to play in B that I got this harp. Basically, it goes A, B, C, D, E. So it's an E harp. E, F, G, A, B. So it's an E harp. And that's how the harmonica is, because it's basic on a pentatonic. Now, I do have some tricks that are weird. You can see odd formations where you go, deca, 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 you know, stuff like that is what this type of stuff is. And I put that in there too. Some of them, I call them intervals. You know, they're just intervals. Like, you know, 1 and 5 is an interval, or flat 5, 1 flat 5 1, 1 flat 5 8, you can call it. There's some more. There are intervals. There's a study of intervals. Now this is more basic scales, diatonics, and finger exercises. So, you know, and some are chromatics again. Very much into chromatics. I move around that way. Some of them very difficult to play. They're spaced weird. Now, people like Alan Holdsworth, I don't know how they stretch their hands like that, but they do these scales. Look at that, yeah. They could do them. And there's other guys that can do them. My hands are tend to be grouped into these because I did so much study of these. Mathematically figured it out. Now, if you look at these scales, right, up here, you'll see in red, let's get this one because it's easier to see. Whew, wrong way. You see in red, right? Like, you know, 1, flat 2, flat 3rd, you know, flat 6, you know, stuff like that. That's what I was proving on the flute, whether it's musical or not. I have a good musical ear. My father, you know, has excellent, and my mom also, you know. So I come from a family that's used to all these Spanish scales and stuff, and I grew up listening to jazz because I like jazz, and Coltrane, all of them, Herbie Hancock, and Chick Corea. I don't care which ones. I like them all, you know. So my ear's tuned to, if it's not musical, I will not transfer to guitar. See? And I did it with the flute because the flute you only worry about one note at a time. So I have both the flute type of way of thinking, if it's a flat five, if it's a augmented this and that, it sharp, then that's what I ended up putting on paper for guitar. But it took me a while. What the heck? Where the hell did that go? I'll have to put these back together. All right, so that's basically that. Then I get into weird chords. I call these special bar chords. Now you can see some of them are tied together. That's a partial bar, right? You've probably seen that kind of thing. There's flat fives. There's some augmented partial scales and stuff within the chord, and it causes like a dissonance. They're weird chords. I use them all the time, though, and it just happens naturally because I'm familiar with this. I did the research. So that's another way. I went to 10th grade, all right? 10th grade, I didn't go to, I did go to music theory, I did, in Rockville, Maryland. What a name for a town, huh? Rockville, Maryland. We got married in Rockville, but we met in Gaithersburg, Maryland. And where I did these scales was in Gaithersburg. So I'll have to organize these again. I do have them numbered and stuff, what page it is. Like this is the 6th page, but over here is the 9th, so I gotta do those. And these are in order. And these. You can see that a musician is not a lazy person. Contrary to popular belief, they're just lazy bums. Oh my gosh, man. Tediosities galore. Galore. So, talk about detail. Huh. Shit. That's within this lifetime when I was 23, because it was 1973. I met my wife when she was 17, so I call her my baby girl. And then a year later, we got married. Our first son was on the way. We decided on 2 names, David and Michael. David was born, then Michael was born. Now, David couldn't pronounce M's at first, and he had convulsions. He had 3 of them, and we were worried. He grew out of it, right? But he would call Michael Eichel. So we would go Mikey Ikey, Ikey Mikey, like that, and Davy Crockett. That was just kind of fooling around. My wife and I, and the kids too, were using those little nicknames. So now you know more about my endeavor. The flute really played a big part in transferring my knowledge onto the guitar. Because of the flute's ability, and sax, any of those instruments, except for the harmonicas. The harmonica is all pentatonic. You got to bend the notes to get the diatonic stuff. And chromatics, well, you need a lever. I don't play those. I play blues harp. That's what I play. So, in the blues harp realm, for every key, there's a harmonica. If you want to play in all 12 keys, you have to buy all 12 harmonicas, right? I use 4 harmonicas because those are the keys that I use. I need one in E because I play slide guitar. And my slide guitar is tuned to E major, and that's why it sounds so deep, and if you've ever heard it, it's got a lot of body for a short scale guitar. I also and some strings that Ernie Ball made. It's called Not Even Slinky, and those are used on short scale guitars. That's all you can use. Or somebody that really wants some thick strings, but gosh, you end up with a 50 on top, instead of a 42 or a 38 or a 40, Yeah, so it's real thick, but they're intentionally that way because when you play slide, you can't have slinkies starting with a 9, because then it'll go on all the frets. You can hear the frets gone way up. It's got to be able to have some suspension, and that way you can press on the slide, all right, and you can press on the slide fairly hard, and it will not bottom out. You don't want that. You want a smooth. So Bonnie Raitt uses heavier strings, right? I like the glass slide, but in cases like this floor here, I will not use it. I'll use my metal slide. Okay, so that's a slide guitar. As far as in my studio, 8-track. I don't know if I can see this instrument here. There's my. Oh my! I don't think you can do it. Anyway, the chord just won't reach. But it's a Tascam 8-track digital, and I do my own bass lines. Always have. Except at one time I used a Boss Octaver, or Octaver, if you want to call it that. So that's how I did my bass lines, and so I got sick of that sound because it's not real bass, and I got a 34-inch bass, Ibanez, and it was like, my goodness. And I happened across an acoustic bass. It was like 32 instead of 34, and it was surprisingly a lot easier to play. And so when I saw this little micro bass, I said, it can't be that good, I got on it, and it was. It's a definite jazz bass with 2 pickups, it's not one pickup like a precision that, you got to work from the middle, and you can't quite get the extremes or anything. It just, it falls short. You can't get it to fit every type of music. But with a jazz bass, with the 2 pickups, you can. That bass will fit somewhere, any kind of music. Doesn't matter what. That's why bass players prefer that kind of system. So I bought that micro bass. It's 28 inches instead of 34. So for me, see, I reaching for that F. I did my copyrights on that damn bass, I tell you, man, on my songs, I did 25 songs first, and then another 20 or so. So about 44 songs are copywritten. The rest I don't worry about anymore. There's video now, nobody. If I play it, it's stamped by video. You know what I'm saying? That song is mine. Nobody else's. Because nobody else is playing it. Nobody's seen anybody else play those songs, right? And that sound is, it's coming from my face to your face. It's a Facebook thing. So, so there's related instruments to guitar, yes. There's the slide guitar, instead of playing partial slide work, which is, you can only do about 4 strings at a time, or 2 strings, 2, 3 strings, 4 strings at the most. Partial slides, and the other notes are just have nothing to do with it, So there's some songs that I've written with that, and that part is slide, But I just put a slide here, and I do the rest of the chord, So, but I like full slide. I do like that. And there's all kinds of alternate tunings for slide. It gets really deep. I have a slide chart for how to tune different tunings, and it's like It's about 6 different tunings. Some of them are real odd. That I just prefer because I want to hear that low E growl, and that little guitar growls, I've done already some videos with it, but I'll be doing some more. And I usually include the harmonica. In fact, I started out with the harmonica, so in E, that E harp, and your ear gets trained to hear that, right? When I come in with the slide, then it, of course, is logical. What's the other? Bass is relative to guitar. It is a guitar. It just has fatter strings and it has a different job. It supports everything else. It has to be low frequencies. What else? As far as saxophone, I try to just go for tone, the good tone. Now, some tricks, but I don't try to exceed the range of the instrument. I might exceed like one or two, one whole step and a half, above. But I'm not that kind of a player, and it's easier to do on a big sax like a B flat. It's less heard of in the E flats and stuff, and sopranos. I guess some people like the one for a weather report. What's his name? Dang. He is a good player. He definitely is. He could do those harmonics on any of them. So Joe Zawinul and mental block. Anyway, it's sad because I like the way he plays. Wayne Shorter. All right. When I first heard Weather Report, the song was called Calm Lake. And I heard that soprano sax, and I play soprano sax too. I just don't have one right now. But my aim at soprano sax playing is that since I play trumpet, I get the trumpet sound, right? But he was getting something different with the soprano sax. It's gorgeous. Gorgeous. I mean, I tell you. So I just fell in love again with the soprano sax because of Wayne Shorter. As far as trumpets, Freddie Hubbard, probably my favorite. I don't get too much into the schmaltz. I like the jazzy people. Freddie Hubbard's a clean jazz person, and we used to do some of his music in the squeeze band, and I played the trumpet parts. But after a while, going into the clubs as trumpet, sax, harmonicas, and flute, and 2 guitars, I said, what do I need to do all this work for? And an acoustic, acoustic guitar, to boot. I felt like a drummer, A drummer carries in all these pieces and then mounts it together. A whole lot of work. However, I kind of boiled it down. There's some things I do on this melody sax that is reminiscent of an alto sax when I go up high. But when I go down, it's a tenor. I'm only one whole step above a B flat. That's it. It's a tenor. In fact, it's called low pitch melody. The sopranos that are in C are more like a piccolo trumpet. Has a higher sound. There's a big difference. When I played the B flat soprano in a shop, I said, "Wow, this thing sounds pretty good in the low register." It makes a difference there. When it comes to bigger horns, it doesn't make that much difference. So that's why I could sound like when I honk on the low notes, it sounds like a tenor. Probably more focused, because the B flat is bigger, fatter sound, looser sound. My sound's a little tighter, you know. That's the differences on that. As far as the flutes, I had a Haynes, that was great. Selmers I've had. The first flute, I even mentioned what it was. Jethro was playing one, and I had an Artley flute, and I bought one. That was my first real flute, silver. And now I play Yamaha, and I've had it rebuilt or overhauled. You know, as they say, you know, repadded, realigned, keys all lined up and everything. I've had it done once since I've owned it, and I'm ready to do it again because I'm losing my low register. The lowest notes don't come out. It comes out too breathy, so I know that the instrument is leaking somewhere. As far as my sax is concerned, there are a few pads that I see wear and felts and corks and springs that don't quite work, so that's going to go in the shop too. But I had to find some woodwind repairman in this town, Castleberry, you know. So this church is in Winter Springs, but it's down the road is Castleberry, and that's my address. So what else are we talking about? As far as percussion is concerned, it's such a vast area because I play anything from tambourine. Let me show you the tambourine. I just go in here because of my aunt Tomasita. You know, she played the tambourine, but it was round and it had a skin on it, and that skin is like a conga or something, you know. It just drives the rhythm, and that's what fascinated me. I was 6 years old, you know. 1956 is what it was, and so you know that's like the beginning. It's like the recorder is to flute, tambourine is to the other instruments in percussion. Now, my brother, and when I got out of Colorado State Reformatory, yes, I was there. I was allowed a guitar, the only person, and I had to do some repairs on it to play. But I wrote my first songs on that, and it's 1969. In 1970, I was released to my mom's care, and my brother happened to be there, and he was playing a conga. He was just playing one, and he was getting so many different sounds, and it was a haunting kind of deep, how do you express it, it wasn't voodoo or anything like that, you know. It just, it haunted me. It had a attracting kind of rhythm to it, and it had a lot of frequencies, he was very good at doing it. So that got me into congas, and my bongos, you know, I tune them low on purpose. They're not supposed to be low like that, but when I play them, I just try to practice what I know on the congas, and that's how I get around that. I've had congas a few times in Silver Spring and Maryland, and in New Hampshire about congas. But I come here and we couldn't get her into this Mustang convertible, which Enterprise gave my friend, and he got hurt. He's 77 years old, and he was the only one that came down up to New Hampshire, and that's over 1,300 miles, to pick me up, and he had ordered a van. Now, he did have a incident where somebody drove him off the road, just run him off the road. So he got hurt, right? He hit the steering wheel, and he's, you know, he can't sneeze or cough or anything because it hurt so much. And then his left leg got pinched between the door and, you know, the seat, and his foot got it's swollen. That's my friend Manuel. He's a conga player. He's a good bongo player. You know, it's bongocero is what we call him. Conga bongocero, congero bongocero. You know, that's his forte. But he tried, and church says, well, if you play your congas and bongos, why can't you play drums? You know, we need a drummer. The drummer just left. Well, he lasted a couple weeks, and he couldn't coordinate. Then, if you couldn't get his foot going, he'd look at it and then stop, and yeah, the rhythm was all messed up. A drummer has to be solid. I say it's got to be a stick in the mud or in the dirt or something solid. You know, it just cannot be moved. Should not be moved. The drummer is the director in a band. You know, you have this guy with a stick, and he's visually you're getting the rhythm, you know, but everybody else is doing actual parts of playing it. But in rock and roll, the drummer is the director, rhythmic director. He marks it down, he counts it, he cuts it out for you, you know, all that. And if it wasn't for Ringo Starr, the Beatles would have never made it. It's just the way it is. The drummer is very essential. And I've had drums in every studio I go to, except for this one I won't be able to because I just don't have the room, you know. But wherever I go, a studio is nothing without drums. Yeah. So I like to have the drums there. Now I've been going. I bought low volume cymbals because our drummer Renzo in Brainstem, that's the name of our band. So it's just a duo. I mean, we get different bass players and stuff like that, but we haven't found anyone that really clicks and that can really keep up with Renzo, Latin jazz extraordinaire. You know, he's loud, but I got a volume control. You know, I'm a speed freak. You know, so that's the way I play. And he's a speed freak on drums. He can do double bass parts with one foot, on his right foot. That's it. And you hear the, yeah, it's just his foot. But he's got all kinds of tricks to get that, kind of effect with his right foot. Of course, the left foot, he does 8th beats or the 16th beats. It's about all you do. And, you know, it's a meter. It keeps everything in line. He bought a big snare. It's about that deep. Oh my God, real fat back. That's basically it. I dabble with drums, but I have torn ligaments on both sides. Left side, I drag trees for landscaping for 30 years, and I always pull this way. So that's where I got my left side. But on my right side, 8 hours of roofing. All day long, carrying stuff up and down, and then at the end, before. Oh yeah, that was to get the new shingles up there on the roof. I had to carry them to the dumpster and throw them. At the end, he says, "Hey, you got to throw them. It's too full, and the back of it, you got to throw it to the front." And I went, ah. I laid in the back of his pickup truck. That was after 8 hours. Torn ligament. My right testicle got 7 times bigger than normal. I kid you not. That's a torn ligament. Which same thing happened on the left side. That story goes that our fabulous owner of the company and boss man, sold his bobcat, which we relied on to drag the trees and set them down into the holes that we would dig by hand, of course. Well, after dragging trees for 4 or 5 hours, my left side finally gave out. But that was after 30 years, okay? That wasn't too bad. I guess muscles or something. But on the right side, I used a cane for 8 years, you know? And in New Hampshire, I met somebody that was a girl. She was a therapist, physical therapist. and she helped me. She gave me things to do to build all the muscles around that ligament. So I don't really even use, you know, I walk, yeah, but it's those muscles around it. So I don't. But when I go to play drums, first thing that happens is my ankles, they kind of tighten up and lock up, and next thing, back to that, you know. And sometimes you'll hear me groaning. Okay, that is the ligaments. So I'm not kidding around. You know, nobody can tell me, well, you walk around, you know, you look all right, you know. Yeah, right. Well, get inside of my body and feel the pain, and then tell me, tell me what's going on. Yeah. What else? No, that's it. Guitars, woodwinds, percussion. Of course, everybody's got a voice, so I sing. Yeah. As far as that 16th note there, it's we're in a seven. This church is called Seven Church. You can see that Seven Church. Well, I spent 7 years in New Hampshire. I come back, and the church is called Seven Church. And then in 1970, I came up with that symbol, right? It just happened like that, and I couldn't go back to sleep until I copied it down on paper. So I've had that ever since. But I just realized the other day that 16th note, 6 and 1 is 7. I've been kidding around 7 all this time. Well, anyway, that pretty much is just a little bit of humor there. As far as maracas are concerned, you know, I prefer shakers. I won't lie about it. I've tried maracas. It's about that big, and you know, a little stick, and the beans or whatever they use are rocks or gravel or something. It's just, it doesn't have the right sound. It's not fine and definite, you know, like a shaker is. And what else do I play? I just got a cajon, but I had one up in New Hampshire. It provides many purposes. When my son, he was doing one of his tunes, and he preferred a cajon to drums. I did the drum part too, but yeah, I have that ligament problem. So whenever it locks up my right foot, so I call it a lazy foot, and a drummer cannot have lazy feet, or lazy foot, which is the right foot, usually the bass drum foot. So what else? I have an unusual way to play cajon, and it's that most people I've ever seen play just the front end of it. Why? The sides have, if you don't want to hear the damn snares, which I don't all the time, right? I play the sides or the back. The back has an opening to it. It has a different sound. The sides are more solid, and you can slap with it and do neat stuff with it without that damn snare string thing, you know? So, but when I want the snare stuff, then I hit the tops, right? If I want to get a real deep sound, the deepest sound is dead center. And I'll tend to go like this to get that dead center. It's kind of like a bass drum beater, you know. Otherwise, you get the darn snares to sound. Which I don't want to hear that, you know. I want to hear the bass drum. Anyway, I am kind of like that. I'm pretty picky, you know. Tediosities abound everywhere, especially if you're a luthier too. On top of it all, you know, I'd never planned my life this way. It just happened to me. You know, I'm a luthier's son. And my mom and dad both played guitar together. My dad had a unique way of playing with, you know, Latino music, Spanish music from Puerto Rico. So he used this thumb pick, and these two uñas, they call them. Uñas mean literally nails. So that's one way, and the other way was a thumb with just the fingers, and softer on the fingers, and more pronounced bass. You know, so he would sound full, complete, because of his style. You know, all he needed was him and the singer. You know, plus he could sing too, or my mom could sing. My mom was kind of keep up with him, and she learned to do, but not, she didn't never used the thumb pick, never. She would do it with her fingers, and it's a softer thing. Plus, she preferred nylon strings. That was my mom. Beautiful voice, very sweet person. My dad, though, he's bipolar, so he would just erupt, like an eruption, like a volcano, boom, blow up, you know, and then go through times of deep depression. I don't know how my mom could put up with that, you know. And then he did break her teeth, you know. When we came home from school, and she says, you know, pack your stuff, yeah, in the suitcases, because your dad's coming in an hour, and we won't be here. So this happened several times. We would be mostly New York, because we had family there. Brooklyn, Manhattan, those two places. So we have aunts there and stuff. But now I've lost track of everybody, you know. So I'm just a Puerto Rican now. And oh yeah, the story on Puerto Rican is, you know, when people find out that I'm from Puerto Rico, San Juan, Puerto Rico, Alto Rey, Barrio Obrero, you know, that kind of thing. They say, oh, you're Puerto Rican. I says, what's that? You mean I'm Puerto Riqueño? Yo soy Puerto Riqueño. You can't say that? No. For the life of them, they can't. So I said, that sounds like Puerto Rican. I might as well just coin that phrase, Puerto Rican, because they're Puerto Rican, Puerto Rican, yeah. And that's where I came from living in the United States, and people not being able to pronounce our nationality, you know, from where we're from, you know, Puerto Riqueño, huh? So I'm bilingual. I can read, write, either. I text to people in Spanish or English, doesn't matter. So my machine doesn't have, my device doesn't have the accents like coño, coño. You know, you would put the accent in the back. You know, it doesn't have certain things that we all the time use. You know, accents. That's the only thing. And that we can still get around gender, like ella. You know, it's not ella. It's just because it's double L doesn't mean it's pronounced like ella. It's ella es mi tía. You see what I'm saying? She is my aunt. And so things, inanimate things, or things that move, like carro, is masculine. Casa is a big house. But it ends in A. So we have that gender thing going on with everything, you know. English is totally impartial. It. It might as well be it. It. But that's the way, that's the difference between the two languages. I guess I've taken up enough of your time. But I hope everybody is happy and doing what they love doing and getting good at it and dealing with tediosities in their lives. There's plenty of them, especially with all the creeps that are out there, you know. The main creep, you know, with a tail, you know, oh, yeah, it's pointing downward, though, right? Someday, lake of fire. That's how I feel about that sucker. And he was a traitor. He was an angel. and he wanted to take over the throne of God himself. And he was putting together an army, 1/3 of the angels in heaven. Do you understand that? He's a traitor. He's a piece of shit. Una pila de mierda. Una cagada. Churra, which means una cagada. Ugh. That's the kind of, it's not a person. It's I look at him as an entity now. You know, he's lost all respect. He's lost all honor, dignity, everything. Complete traitor. So, you know, at one time I used to pray to God and say, well, you're the creator. Why don't you just uncreate him? Then we wouldn't have to deal with him, with his stuff, you know. Well, apparently he didn't care for that too much. Lake of fire. That's what he cares a lot. Because Jehovah, or Yahweh in Hebrew, or Jehovah in Spanish, or Jehovah in English, you know, is the God of armies. He's got all those angels, right? One traitor took away 1/3 of his force, you know. And there's things that come up that angels deal with, you know. So he's a big traitor, man, you know, this piece of shit. I tell you, you know. Now, he wants to be the Lord of all, right? Let's put it that way. I call him the landlord. Why? He tried to give this turf to Jesus, and Jesus just said, I don't need that. And he wanted Jesus to bow down to him, kiss his feet, huh? And adore him. What for? When Jesus got his kingdom up there, he said he just went back up. Went back upstairs. Yeah? So that landlord is what we got to deal with here. You know? I tell you, I've had enough. I've had enough. I'm a crab, water sign, and water goes through everywhere. It will destroy or seep through things, and because of that, I'm a seer. Water signs are seers. We can actually penetrate things and through the cracks and everything. Sooner or later, we're going to get through there. And you cannot compress water or liquids, only air. Dig it? All right, so that's my stance in life. And my children are all military. They're all warriors, you know. So he didn't put me here and just be a wimp. That's what it looks like, right? Yeah, skinny. He's a skinny way. He poses no threat. Oh, but it's kids. Oh, I have 2 boys, and their 2 boys are all warriors, and the girls are all warriors. My son has 2 girls and 2 boys, and my other son, my youngest, has 2 boys, and they're all the whole family's warriors. Now, what a pickle! So the landlord has got to put up with this, and he's losing power because I'll tell you a secret. The great I am shows you that if you are eternal. You are, I am. The spirit of musical understanding, that's me, I am. Now, he's trying to become God Almighty. He's trying to become Lord of all. Becoming, you could become a rock, and somebody can come along and take a sledgehammer to it and bust it into tiny smithereens and sand to be left. So he's made a big mistake by trying to become the Lord. On that note, I'll end because I don't like preaching. I prefer to be jamming. All right. Thanks for listening. God bless everyone.